What's up everybody and welcome back to the YouTube channel. We're back in for another installment of 3 exercises you should be trying or 3 exercises that you have to try. I think a lot of these can work for a lot of people. They're not going to be godsend. What I say is not going to work for 100% of people, but I bet you it's going to work for a lot of people, and I think that you guys can get a lot out of using exercises like this. So we're going to go through 3 exercises here that I think that you should be doing for your shoulders, and we're going to slowly work through the rest of the body parts as we go. But today, it's all about the shoulders. Let's get it. Right, everybody, we're going to move on to our first exercise that we've been talking about in our exercise order list. Now, this is something that you guys would have seen on the channel for a while. It's something that I've been using for probably around 2.5 years. Obviously, we now make these cuffs at one of our shop, and it's basically going to be a cuffed crucifix lateral raise. Now, the reason why it's called a crucifix is because we just end up in a position as you've been nailed onto a crucifix. It's got external rotation in there. You are loading the delt, the lateral delt, and the rear delt to try to stabilize, and a lot of the rhomboid as well to try to stabilize. But you are loading the delt as much as you can in that short range and going through a full range of motion without taxing the length and range too much, because there's many other things that you can do in a workout to do that. But it's really working that muscle in the short position. So all you're going to do is you're going to have your cables roughly about knee height. It probably ends up where it's about. Literally just scoot these cuffs straight over onto your hands. You can put them wherever you want. I prefer them on the wrist, so you add a little bit more load in the length and range. Now you can see a full length and range is probably going to be like here, but you can't naturally get into that position. You want to start here, so you can see this is a mid to short range tissue slabber. So we're going to come on to our second exercise here, which is going to be number 2 in our 3 exercises that we're going to go for. Now, the reason why I chose this, I don't actually normally do this. I haven't done this for one training cycle, so for the last 12 weeks I've been using a single training cycle. This hasn't been in because I used it on the previous one, but it's a very, very good exercise that I wanted to come back around to today, and it is going to be a reverse banded Smith press. Now, I'm not really a big fan of using fixed bars in pretty much most things, but there's like a few exercises where I'm absolutely fine with it because it gives us the opportunity to manipulate the resistance profile of the machine to match that of the strength profile of the muscle in question. So when we talk about these profiles, there's an easy way to explain them. Each muscle has a position where it's stronger and weaker, and more often than not, if you're not manipulating any resistance profiles, you can probably see where that is. So for example, if you just use a straight bar on this, you'll notice that you'll get to the point where you can't get the bar up anymore, and that's because you fail in a range that perhaps you wouldn't fail in if you manipulate that resistance profile. So all we're going to do here is we're going to match where the pec is weak and strong. So the pec is pretty weak in the lengthened position, but pretty strong in the fully contracted position. So you're going to see as the weight comes down here, it's going to take the load off where you're weak and where you're likely to fail early on. And it's going to, so as we come back down, you can see it's loading the weight off because we'll probably fail there otherwise. As we press up, it's loading the weight on as the pec gets stronger and in a safer position. So actually what this is doing, it's actually extending your failure period. And what ends up is that you end up failing at the top when you would the bottom, and instead of getting cut short when you could still get a few more done. So actually this is a very, very good exercise, and I think highly recommend you to try it. All you need is a daisy chain here, a carabiner, and a resistance band. I would say the stronger you are, the more resistance you probably need, and you can get all of this equipment at one of our shop, not to sell the exercise. So we're going to come on to our third and final exercise for our delts. Now, this is going to be a cuffed crossover raise again, but this is going to be slightly different in the fact we're going to be standing up. And we're also, like we could not do in the first exercise, like get to that lengthened position, we're now going to focus on that lengthened position. by coming right across the body with the cuffs. So you put a cuff in each hand. Again, you can put this wherever you'd like on your arm. If you want to have these closer to your elbow, just to reduce some pressure into your wrists or your elbows, you can do that. I would recommend having them on the wrists if everything is fine. So you can see before we started here, when we were led down on the crucifix, we now can get into this full range of motion here without any issues. And we can come through that full range of motion. And where we've already taxed the short range, which is the higher part of this range of motion, because we've done the crucifix and we've also trained in between that as well. Here, we can really tax that length and range, which is going to fail last, because we know that the short position, the most contracted position of muscles, gets harder and harder and harder to get into the more fatigue you build up as you go through your session, which is why it's a good idea to train that short position, that most contracted position first. So guys, we will wrap that shoulder video up. Those are 3 exercises that I think are, honestly, I would put them in 99% of training plans that I would use. One of those variations would be perfect. It's not all the variations. I think there's some very, very good other shoulder presses. I also don't think you need to shoulder press. I also think there's other ways to train your lateral delts, but I do think that using a cable is superior, and I also think that using a cuff is superior. You can use handles, you can just hold on to it if you want to. You can use dumbbells, whatever you want to do, but I think these are 3 exercises that I don't know whether everyone has seen, and I think that maybe you should look at. And just tell me how you feel. Tell me if you feel the difference. Tell me if you enjoy the difference. And let me know if you incorporate these into your training sessions. I'd love to hear it. If you don't, I'd also love to hear if you don't and why. And then we'll just go from there, guys. But if you guys enjoying this series, enjoying these types of videos, drop a like, drop a comment as well. Support the boy. And see you in the next video. Peace.